All right, hello, sports guys. Taping this on a Friday afternoon, 99 The Game, 247 Sports. Garrett Chapman is here. Garrett, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Man of many hats, I guess. I sometimes forget that I work for 247 Sports again until I actually jump in and do it. You know, it's like doing a lot of stuff, man. But no, things are good. Life's good down here in Atlanta. Beautiful, beautiful day.
It is beautiful today. The pup and I will get a good walk in this afternoon because I feel like it's been raining and cold every single day this week. So it's good. The weather looks good. It wasn't that bad. I was back home for the weekend last weekend. Saw the Hawks lose in person, so that was cool. That was a fun event for my wife's first Hawks game in person. Spending so many years now with me watching on the TV and to get in. She had a great time though. Like Good. She really got into it. The Chick-fil-A sandwich situation was not something that she was happy about, where the Clippers missed 2 free throws in a row. Everyone got a free chicken sandwich, so she was very electric during that fourth quarter portion of the basketball game. But yeah, it's about what I expected. AJ Griffin was the second best player on the court. DeJounte Murray was the best for the Hawks, and Trae Young continues to just ruin my day. Like that was just kind of where we were at. And then Hawks Twitter is just a hellscape. Hawks Twitter is an unbelievable. Like there is now this belief that because Trae did not make the All-Star team, it's like media just hates Trae. They don't want to put him on. It's like Trae was not an All-Star this year. Like he's not played like an All-Star. He's not an All-Star.
Yeah. No, I agree. I see why he was left off. I didn't vote for him when I did my voting. I just didn't. He's irritated me a lot this year. It's maybe because I've had to watch him every week. But you look at his games, like watch his individual numbers. It's completely different than when you watch the games and watch him play. It just feels like he's missing something that he's had in the past. Maybe it was just the fact that he just signed that big deal, and that sort of changes your perspective of who he is, or at least what he should be. And he deserves the money. I'm not going to say he didn't deserve that money. He's a superstar. He's one of the best players in the NBA. Should he have been an all-star? Yes, he should have been an all-star. But this is just proof that, hey, man, it's not a given that you're going to be an all-star. And I think he, in his head, I'm not going to pretend like I know what he's thinking on any given day, but I feel like, expects to be a superstar. And he expects to be treated like a superstar, and he doesn't always treat it that way. Well, maybe look into the finer details. You're not shooting the ball very effectively. You're taking bad shots. It almost feels like when you're taking the game over as of late, it's just because you're not distributing the basketball and the entire flow of the offense just ceases to exist. Those aren't good things. And sure, he might have stretches where he scores all 10 points, but it helps when you take like 10 shots and and you make 30% of them. And I'm not saying it's like that every time. It's just sometimes it feels that way. DeJounte
defensively
Murray,
too, like it matters. Defense matters, and I'm telling you, you watch it in person up close, and it's just he gets lost so much on defense still. Like it's really, really hard. Like the difference
he's shown
with
progress
DeJounte
this year. He's been better this year than he has been in the past. I think he shows flashes, and I've been following. I can't remember his name. I think he's soaring down south, I believe, but. I can't remember. Chris, I can't remember, but he does these little video studies where he goes through and he essentially looks at the tape or whatever. And I go through whenever I see he has one of those threads, I always jump on it and see what I can find. And there are times where it's like he's not effective, but he knows where he is and he knows when he gets into a bad situation, and he is able to coordinate, move, and get somebody else. We saw that against the against the Trailblazers specifically. He got put into a bad spot, and he was able to transition off, and John Collins goes up and gets a block.
Wait, when the Blazers? He was out the Blazers game.
Oh, no, it was the Suns. Then it was the Suns. Then I just saw that. But it's like he's not effective on the defensive side, and I think that showed in the team, and he has to get the fan vote, and I think he's almost, I don't want to say he's alienated the fans in Atlanta, but it almost feels like he has.
It's got more divisive, among Atlanta fans, where it's like there's just like this mutiny now, where there's the group who's like, it's not Trae's fault, and then there's the other group that's like, there's no contest. Like, DeJounte's a better player. Like, DeJounte does more. DeJounte has done more to keep this team afloat this year and to be a 500 basketball team, which we'll talk about, is DeJounte. Like, I think there's no question, right? He's been the best player on the Hawks all year long.
No, I mean, especially in this little stretch that he's on, which I don't think is necessarily sustainable. He's shooting like 44% from three, or there's just like 2 weeks or so. It's just like, I'm sorry, it's just not the kind of player that he is. But he's been very, very good, and he's been taking over games in a way that Trae Young just really hasn't been doing, and he's been doing it on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So DeJounte has been the best player on the Hawks at times. I'm not going to go as far as what you were saying, where it's like Trae was clearly the third best player.
I'm
AJ Griffin plays
thing,
within his
like,
role.
AJ knows exactly.
AJ has a good role, and he
Yeah.
rarely takes bad shots and looks out of control.
Yeah.
Perfect for
He's
what
such
we
a good
want out of
rookie.
AJ.
Like, AJ is such a good rookie.
Yeah, so I have seen, and I'm not going to use this moment to dispel anything that AJ's been doing. He's done everything that's been asked of him, and
He's shooting like 40% from three.
No, he's been exceptional.
Yeah.
He's doing the Rising Stars Challenge, and he's very deserving. He should have been a lock for that. But look, Trae is still what this team is built around. But I don't lay this all at Trae's feet. I lay this at the feet of management. Just over the past couple of months, they have just wholly mismanaged this roster. And I'm not going to say it's because they went and got DeJounte Murray, but they paid. It's in hindsight, it's like you paid a lot of money and you leveraged your entire future for a lot of mediocrity. And it's more just the fact that this team is not performing at the level that we want them to perform at. And this is fresh off of a 32-point win, where they just dismantled the Suns. They look great, and they played within the flow of the offense, and I loved that. We see those flashes every now and then, and it's as much the Hawks played well as the Suns played badly, but. You know, it's just very frustrating because I don't have that hope for the future that I had maybe earlier this season even. DeJounte Murray and Trae have looked great in spurts, but then have looked really bad at other times. I don't know what they're going to do with John Collins. I don't have faith that they're going to make the right decision. Bogi Bogdanovic hasn't looked like the same guy since that knee procedure over the offseason. He really just hasn't been the same dude.
I think he's
the
at
Hawks are a better
40%
team
too.
when he's playing well, and he is not playing well at all. And so there's a good chance that they move off of that $18 million.
Well, we'll save that for a second because Bogi. I mean, let's just get into the Bogi now. Like, he's been popping up in trade rumors, right? And that was something that I saw in Sports Talk ATL, but I forgot who originally was talking about that he's the Sam
The Athletic.
of the Athletic.
Yeah, the Athletic came out and said basically half the league has come in and inquired about him.
Which, here's my philosophy in modern NBA basketball and team building. Trading two 40% three-point shooters in the pace and space league in one calendar year is a bold strategy, Cotton, because if you move on from Bogi and Herter and this same little group when your offense is already in the 20s, like the offense is already taking a step back from a year ago, that's a bad way of doing business. It's a bad strategy, and it's like it also, like, Bogey's the kind of guy you want if you're trying to make a deep playoff run. Like, he's a vet, 30-year-old vet who shoots the ball really well, is comfortable next to Trae, someone you can count on, who's played in a lot of important playoff series for you already. Like, Bogi should be untouchable right now because you're not going to get the same kind of player on a team that's trying to win the East. Like, it makes no sense for Bogdanovic to be in a trade right now.
Yeah, and it's also a situation with John Collins added in there. It's like, I don't see a situation like you were saying, like that this Hawks team is not going to get better by dealing those two players. They just aren't.
I think at least at JC there's a possibility. Like, if you did the JC for Kyle Kuzma and
Kuzma's off the block. Kuzma's
I know,
not
that's what I'm
available.
saying. Like, there are things like before stuff, like you could sell me on there being a path to getting a stretch four who adds more shooting and just could maybe make this team a little bit better than John. You could sell me on that. Bogi, there's no chance.
I mean, but it's also, it doesn't make me feel good that they've publicly lowered the asking price.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they follow up, and it just feels like this is just the mismanagement of the team. It's a 34-year-old general manager with a 27-year-old president of basketball operations. They're floating a rumor, and then they're immediately coming out public and backtracking on it. And it's like, guys, what's happening? Like, what are we doing over here? They don't know what they're doing.
Kitchen.
There are too many cooks in the kitchen, and I don't think anyone's a Michelin star. You know, it's like we're not in a good spot right now. Mm-hmm. You know, and
we also haven't been here, right? We've never seen
what?
a trade deadline with this group. Like, we don't know how they're going to operate with this new front office. We have no idea where their head's at.
It's so stressful because there could be. I look down at my phone, and there could be a John Collins trade any minute now, and It also could be the situation where we hit at the like what we did at the whatchamacallit, the draft last year, where nothing happens, and they float all of this stuff. They're like, everything's happening. Turns out that there were deals on the table, and they had things that they were going to be doing, but Tony Ressler nixes it. I mean, it is never a winning combination when your owner gets involved in basketball operations. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you have an owner outside, like if they're willing to spend money, the two worst things. One, they're not willing to spend any money, which in this case, they're not willing to go into that luxury tax. And two, if they meddle in a basketball or whatever sports affairs. Tony Ressler's not doing both of those things. That's not a recipe for success. And the Hawks, I have no faith in this organization moving forward.
I'm not. It's so hard because, like, the thing with the Hawks is, like, we kind of knew where Travis Schlenk's head was at. Like, building through the draft, his best quality was, like, he was really, really good at identifying talent in the draft. Like, he was really, really good at that, really sharp. But, like, he was conservative with dealing picks, with team building, and, like, I don't think he would have been the one to move Herter. My gut tells me still that he would have kept him. He was a good find for Schlenk years ago now. And I think core piece, good shooter. It does not strike me as someone who came from the Warriors FO that he would have moved on from Herter if that was not like a ownership call of like, we got to get under, we got to save some money here, and Herter has to be a fall guy here. It's weird with Kyle Korver being the assistant GM. If you really send Bogi out with this group, it's like, what kind of team, like, what does the offense look like? Who are you counting on to hit shots if you are gone from Herter and Bogi in this rotation? Two guys who played, like I previously mentioned, like, it's an unknown, but like him popping up, John Collins has been popping up forever, but like, I have no idea what kind of team that Landry Fields and Kyle Korver and this front office and Tony Ressler's son wants to build, because like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know how they feel about Trae. I don't know how they feel about Capella. I don't know how they feel about Collins. Like, is there a mixture in where they see this team going? Like, the only thing I know for certain is they're upset. I'm certain of where the team is right now. Like, being a 500 mediocre team with all this investment in DeJounte. The thing about DeJounte, he's been good. Like, it's not really DeJounte's fault that they're at 500 right now. I think the picks and everything was a lot, and we'll see what ultimately that does this team years down the line. But like, I think the returns are DeJounte's a really good player and a borderline all-star. Like, DeJounte's a really good basketball player for this team, and could be like, he kind of reminds me, like, best case scenario is like the Drew Holiday type for what he is in Milwaukee, right? Where he's just great first team All NBA defense, can hit shots when he needs to, but good mid-range guy. Just a pain in the ass in your closing five. Like, he is just going to be a pain in the ass, and you don't want to be guarded by him for 48 minutes. But I don't know. I'm not mad about the DeJounte trade. He's been good.
No. And don't take this as me getting mad at DeJounte or the deal itself, but you leveraged a large portion of your future for it. And on top of it, there's no guarantee that he's going to be here outside of next year.
I mean, there's a chance that Trae and DeJounte are not.
I don't know how you can do that and feel good, because the thing is like, if we deal those picks, those are potentially lottery picks. They're unprotected lottery picks.
Yeah. And
this is a situation, like, if you have, like, the Hawks control their own pick this year, right? Outside of that, they don't really control anything. Yeah. And if God forbid, Trae Young gets hurt, like, next year or something, this team is out. They're done. They're done. And then it's like, there's just so much leveraged into DeJounte Murray. And I love DeJounte Murray as a player. I don't have any security that he's going to be here. And I don't know how the offense is going to work with him. Even, we're in February. And we've seen spurts of it really looking great, and then spurts of it looking really dadgum awful. And the shooting has been miserable. Nothing has improved. I have seen no improvement. They are just a 500 basketball team that's just been mediocre. And I have no vision. I feel like I'm just ranting at this point. But it's like, there's no vision, there's no security, and then there's no future. Because you leveraged it all for your mediocrity that you have right now. We could have just run back what we had last year, and I think we would have been in a better situation. Just because of the way that the team plays.
I think even if you make this trade and you keep Herter, I think this team is still, the upside is like a top 4 seed. When they're healthy. Like, I still think that would have been fine. Like, if our 9 was Trae, DeJounte, DeAndre, John, Clint, Onyeka, Bogi, Herter, and AJ.
Then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
We just
That's
wouldn't.
a really, really deep, good 9. That's a 9 I trust. It's a good group of vets and young guys. Like,
especially with AJ too. You play 8. You have. Oh my god! It's just so irritating. Just thinking about the situation that the Hawks are in right now. It's very frustrating, and I know that we have the stat that Brad Rowland put out.
Yeah,
it's
the
the
Brad
most
Rowland
incredible
stat's
thing.
bonkers.
Yeah, I'll let you read it if you have it in
The
front.
most
of you.
mid, the mid stat, like this blew up for Brad. And go check out Lockdown Podcast or Lockdown Hawks. He does great work covering the Hawks. But SportsCenter picked it up, and it's the Hawks are 26-26. The Hawks are 17-17 against the East, 9-9 against the West. The Hawks are 8 of 15 teams in the East. The Hawks have scored 6,057 points. The Hawks have allowed 6,057 points. Like that's bonkers, man.
That's unreal. And hey, credit to Brad for finding that stat. That's a badass stat. It is the most unbelievable season. Well, it's actually perfectly believable. I mean, like it's just immaturity from Trae, mixed with lack of stability from Tony Ressler, mixed with an unadaptable head coach in Nate McMillan. I don't know what you hope to see at this point. I'm so off on this Hawks team as it stands right now. Like, look, could they figure something out and maybe they just start shooting better? I mean, when John Collins shoots well, this team is pretty damn good on offense.
Yeah.
At least above average when John Collins is shooting well. And I think he's been shooting better. I think his finger is consistently getting better. But the thing is, now they're about to go out and dump him for somebody else.
Maybe. I don't know. We've been down this road for how many times? Like,
I mean, look, this barring some crazy move, they need a big win at the trade deadline. But that's where I run into the situation where I would have trusted Travis Schlenk to make a good move that was going to benefit the Hawks, not just this year, but in the foreseeable future. I have no confidence in Landry Fields. I have no confidence in any of these other folks. I mean, I just don't. Kyle Korver, I mean, sure, I actually saw this one idea that was floated. I don't know who told me, but Kyle Korver is the insurance plan for when if Nate McMillan walks away.
As coach?
Yeah. It's the only person who with like legitimate experience of any kind. Even then, he doesn't really have a lot of experience. He's been coming in and coaching. He's been like an assistant coach. Who else would there be?
Ime Udoka.
Sure, in a perfect world.
No, I don't want to hire. I'm still like I'm not even joking. I think he's the next coach of the Hawks. Like I would love
that. Look, I mean, if he does that, and then maybe we'll have some direction and some consistency. I'm just so frustrated with the state of the Atlanta Hawks right now, and then it's more just the fact, like I said, the consistency has just been irritating. I have no idea what's going to come out on the floor tonight. I mean, I feel like Trae, now having been snubbed from the All-Star game, is going to come out and he's going to shoot probably 15 threes and try to go bonkers. Like
what's his shooting? Is he even over 30% right now from three?
Well, let me see.
He's shot horribly this whole season. We're now 50
he's had
games.
stretches where he's shot like under 10%.
He's
42% from the field. His last 10, he's shooting 30% from three, which is below average. This year he's 32%, which is below average.
Yeah. Does it feel like he's shooting 8 free throws a game?
No.
Isn't that weird? He shot less last year, 7.3, but I don't know. For whatever reason, it doesn't feel like he's shooting. But the 2-point percentage is down. He was 51% last year, 48% this year. Yeah,
he's just been frustrating, man. He's been frustrating. It's just top to bottom, this whole roster. I don't know. I'm normally Mr. Positive on this podcast, you know? Like, I'm normally super positive and ready to look forward and everything else. I just don't see it right now. And this next week is going to be very important because, I mean, if they win these next 2 games or a couple of games and they look good over this next week, they're not going to make a move. They're not going to do anything. They're going to stand pat.
I'm just not going to pretend to have any pulse on what this front office is going to do. I have
that's a wild guess. Like, it's just this whole thing because I don't know what they're going to do tonight. I mean, they can come out and play like they did on Wednesday
Utah,
and go lights out, or maybe they could not, and maybe they'll just throw up bricks. I just expect Trae's going to force the issue tonight. So we'll see.
Hawks, you're making Garrett pull his hair out and shake it all up like he's Jim Carrey over here, where he's
I'm
like,
losing my mind.
Where he's like,
I'm losing my mind over here, man. I'm telling you.
The Falcons though, they hired a new DC. You excited?
Mm-hmm.
You excited about the
I'm
Nielson
interested.
era?
I'm interested. You know, like it's one of those situations where I would have liked to have seen like Vic Fangio or one of those other guys. Nielsen kind of came out of left field for me, but look,
Yeah, he wasn't even like on the rumored list forever. Like we
No.
talked about it, like all the names. Like we've had all the names forever. Like he was not someone who had popped up on anything, and it's like in retrospect, it's like we should have had him on there because Terry Fontenot being New Orleans guy and the New Orleans connections of like, hey, have you thought about interviewing Ryan Nielson, Arthur? He's pretty good. He does good work with Cam Jordan and company down there in New Orleans. They have a pass rush, generally speaking. Davenport's developed well. Like they know what they're doing.
Davenport's been kind of mid.
He's okay. Hey, you know what? I would take Davenport over what this team has developed on the edge before. Like it's a step up in that regard.
Yeah, so I think he does fit the bill of like what this team wants to do. I think they want to. Well, Nielsen just sort of fits. I mean, like they want to stop the run. They want to get after the quarterback. That's fine. He has very little experience calling plays, if any at all. I'm optimistic. He's a developmental guy. He develops talent very effectively. He has a long history of doing that. And look, if the Atlanta Falcons can do that, I'm all in. I love it. So I think it's a TBD, obviously, but for now I'll give it a B. It's not super splashy, but I think it's going to be a good hire long term. I mean, he's a strong track record. He did it. He did it in New Orleans for a long time. I mean, Arthur Smith has coached against him now for 2 years. Terry Fontenot worked with him. They clearly saw enough to get this guy an opportunity. So I trust the process as of right now with the Atlanta Falcons.
Strong Ed Orgeron connection. He was his defensive line coach at Ole Miss way back in the day. Was with him at USC.
He was on this coach with the staff at Ole Miss, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then he tried to hire him his last year at LSU as his defensive coordinator, and he got a promotion out of it with the Saints and became assistant head coach and all that. I don't know. I think it's fine. Like in the end, I think this is fine, and I think he'll be solid. And it's worth a swing. I'm not really as worried about
better than what we've had. I mean, Dean Pease was pretty good for what we had. He was fine. I mean, he was good for what we had. I think Nielsen is a guy who's going to get this team into like the middle of the road, which I think is perfectly fine. Complimentary.
They brought him in clearly like we got to fix the pass rush. Like this was a full on. We are addressing the defensive line. Like that's what we're doing here.
I mean, maybe we should have done that 10 years ago, but that's just me.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think Nielsen's an interesting hire.
How much of a say do you think he's going to have in the draft process? Do you think he's already out? He was out of the Shrine Bowl. He coached at the Shrine Bowl. How much of an impact do you think he has?
I mean, I think he's going to have a big one. Like, I think he and Terry Fontenot are going to be, like, co-running this defense together. Like, the connection of, like, hey, this is who I like. What do you think?
Sure.
So I think
see.
he'll...
Yeah, we'll see.
This feels like a Terry Fontenot hire more than an Arthur Smith hire, which is kind of weird.
No, I mean, Arthur Smith, I feel like, has done a good job of kind of, like, taking his hands off of the defense.
Yeah.
He had Dean Pease. And
Dean Pease
was a guy he kind of trusted unilaterally to just sort of, like, take the reins and like, here you go, I'm going to focus on offense. Of course, he's going to be head coach and like he's going to hear and be a part of those meetings or whatever. But I mean, Dean Pease was a guy he trusted to do that, and I think Nielsen, co-defensive coordinator for a while. Now he's just going to be calling plays. But I feel like
people are way too concerned about the going from 3-4 to 4-3 and switching back and forth between that.
It's so hybrid. The NFL is so hybrid.
I'm not
now.
worried about stuff like that.
They go back and forth.
The Falcons will be in nickel a bunch. Like I'm not concerned
Pease was
about
a multiple front. I mean, he did multiple fronts all the time. We'll see what he ends up doing. I think it does potentially affect like the kind of defense that he wants to call. Based off what I was seeing, like there are some folks where it's like if you get like a Vic Fangio, I think Vic Fangio would have changed the dynamic of the actual personnel
he was
of the
going
defense
with one of those
more.
Shanahan types, like one of the disciples of Shanahan. He was either going with Kyle or he was going with Mike McDaniel. Like you are not going to get in the Vic Fangio business.
But I mean, like what I'm saying is like if you go get a guy like that, you would have to change your personnel just a little bit more. Like you would need more depth at defensive back because he often would run like 5 defensive backs out there.
Yeah.
And Nielsen isn't that much. I mean, granted, he wasn't calling the plays, but it doesn't feel like he's going to be doing that. I feel like he's going to be kind of more balanced and have more size in the middle of the field. And I think we need some help in the middle of the field. I mean, we need help all over the defense, but
That's
it'll be interesting.
Like, can he develop? That's my main thing. Is I'm not worried about comp.
Give me a defensive line.
How does he develop?
Please, Lord, give me a defensive line. I just want something.
Yeah, if he does that,
just some
then I'm happy.
consistency there.
Right. If he does
We'll
that,
see.
I'm happy. Like, that's all we're looking for.
But he's a guy who's developed talent there, like on the defensive line too. So it's like I'm thinking specifically with draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't scream to me that he's going to force the issue and draft the best overall defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it depends on how it falls, but I'm very torn about what I would want to do with that pick. I'm almost at the level of I kind of want to trade it, unless the guy that you want falls.
I did a PFF mock late last night, and Will Anderson fell to 8, and I was like, "Oh,
that's not happening."
No, it's not happening. But
if that happens, everybody in front of him is being fired.
I don't want Miles Murphy. I don't want a Clemson.
See, I don't want one of those Clemson guys. I don't know. I just keep falling off of those guys. Like the Texas Tech pass rusher, I could take him.
I just
Tyree or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I just
maybe one of those.
Tech
Maybe just take
rusher,
the best cornerback on the board.
I don't think they'll go corner that high.
That's too. It is a little high. That's why I'm saying trade. Maybe trade back. Maybe offensive tackle and let Caleb McGarry walk.
That's my whole thing. That's where I've been steering is offensive tackle. Like, I think that's probably where.
Like Paris Johnson.
Yeah, or you go. I think you go edge if best. I'm okay with best player available edge, and then Darnell Wright, who is just not just because I'm a Tennessee guy, but he'll be there early second. Like, I think that would be perfect for them.
I've
He's
seen
a
him
right
drop
tackle
in some
guy.
of the drafts.
He's great. I think he would slide in right away. He'd be a really good player. I would. I don't know. I think that's you need to start in the trenches if you're Terry Fontenot.
I think this is going to be a trenches draft. That's really what I see out of this one. But I've
that'd
been
be
wrong
fun.
Before.
There we go. Matt Olson in year 2. I want to do this each week. I want to have like one Braves player as we get ready for spring training in the start of the season. What we're looking for out of them. What are you looking for to improve of the Parkview legend, Matt Olson? What are you looking for him to improve on from last year, Garrett?
Consistency. I felt like we saw a lot from him where he was sort of up and down a bit. He was riding the wave a little bit too much for my liking, especially. But that's also because we were comparing Matt Olson to Freddie Freeman, who was just Mr. Consistency, whether that was on defense or at the plate. Matt Olson had spurts where his glove was terrible at times, and the other times where he was just was miserable at the plate. The power, I think, it showed up later in the season. It's just the consistency side of it. I mean, he was Mr. Double Machine last year, and I think he's going to get more hits. I think he's going to be a little bit. I just think he's going to be a better player. He's going to get that OPS up a little bit more. Was it low 800s or something last year? I could see him jumping up into the higher 800s, lower 900s, just continuing to develop and get comfortable here in Atlanta. I just didn't see him develop that comfort until later in the season. Like once we got into like August or so. Like even just being down in the locker room in the clubhouse, he was kind of off on his own a little bit early in the season, and just kind of, and maybe that was just because maybe just he was that stage of the year or whatever, or when we were down there. But it just felt like he was on his own a lot, and he developed some more chemistry with the team and everybody else, and he looked better as the year went on. But I just want to see that a little bit more.
Great defense. He's a great defender at first. It's funny, too, like the strikeout percentage. In 2020 with Oakland, 31% strikeout rate. 2021, 16.8%. And then back with Atlanta, 24%. He struck out a pretty hefty amount. Didn't walk a bunch. His walk rate was the lowest it's been since 2019. But the home runs were there. Like the power was there. 34 homers. He had 39 in 2021. So that was pretty consistent, but WRC Plus was significantly down, still above average player. So like 100 is average, and he was 120 for the Braves last year. He was 147 when he was just playing like an all-star level with Oakland in 2021. But like you said, down the stretch, he I think got more and more comfortable. And
yeah,
I mean, Zips has him projected for a 137 WRC Plus, which is high productive WRC Plus for them, and 37 dingers, like 37. Like I want him to get to 40. 40 is just cool.
I see 40 out of him this year.
Yeah.
I can really see 40. I want to see him get on base a little bit more too. He was
Yeah.
I'm looking at his stats now. He was
Not a big walk
325
guy.
on base percentage.
Because he was homer, strikeout, and that was kind of it. He's got to work more on that.
Or maybe a walk.
Yeah.
He'll walk. He was walking, he was homering, or he was striking out. Or hitting a double.
Yeah.
There was not much else between there. I think that accounted for damn near every single one of his hits. Well, now I'm actually curious.
I also think he has to kind of take, like, one of the things that was interesting was when you were listening to Travis d'Arnaud. I was reading a piece with Dave O'Brien about d'Arnaud and the Dansby departure, right? And the Braves have lost 2 leaders in the clubhouse in back-to-back years. So Freddie Freeman 2 years ago. Now you lose Dansby this year. And Dansby seems like he was they called him like the sheriff or something in the clubhouse. So you lose him. And they were like, well, we don't really have a leader right now. It's basically what they were saying is like, those were the 2 big ones the last 2 years. So it's like someone has to step up. And you kind of wonder, you're like, Michael Harris is really young. It's asking a lot. Vaughn's obviously super young. Austin Riley is an obvious one. I don't think it's in Acuna's nature. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. Not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying he doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. And Ozzy, I think, strikes me more as that kind of guy. But I think Matt Olson at 28 years old, I think he kind of needs to step up as a leader. I think he's locked in long term. I'm interested to see what players say about Matt this year from a leadership perspective, because he's a quiet kid. Like, he's like, when you see him do an interview, like he was on like Starting Nine or something the other week, and I'm like, and I don't think I've ever actually watched a Matt Olson interview. Like, he's not a vocal dude. He's just a quiet, go about his business kind of guy. But I wonder if he takes more of a leadership role with this team with Dansby out the door.
No, I don't. He's a logical
who do you think
decision.
it is? Who do you
He's a
think
logical decision.
Yeah.
Just looking at the guys in the locker room, I think it's got to be Ozzy to me.
Yeah.
It's just having seen the way these guys interact
he needs
with
to
each
play
other.
Though. Like, he needs to be healthy and available to be that leader.
He was going to be ready to go in the NLCS, and I think he'll be fine. Largely, I mean, that's the thing. Last year was more of an anomaly for Ozzy. He's been healthy his entire career, with rare exceptions, like outside of like maybe minor dings and bruises or whatever. But he's been extremely healthy for the course of his career, and I see no reason for that to change, or at least to expect it to change. I expect him to step into that kind of leadership role. I think Von Grisham and Michael Harris are still a little too immature. And I'm not saying that as a knock. I'm just saying it's because they're 21 years old. They're just kids. And I mean, I could look at like a Travis d'Arnaud, somebody like that, just sort of like a steady hand in the locker room. I mean, we know his. I mean, Ozzy's that guy for me, and I'd like to see Matt Olson jump into that role. He's just not very vocal, and he's not very, like, he walks into a room and he's like in the corner, it's like that. And that's not a bad thing. It's just the way that he is. It's kind of how Ronald is too. Ronald does his own thing, and I'd like to see Ozzy jump into that role. In the future, it's Austin Riley is somebody, a consistent sort of dude. Travis d'Arnaud is the other one I just keep coming back to. Just in my head. I'm like looping through the roster right now. But yeah, could be interesting. That's going to be a very interesting thing to follow, especially early in the season, spring training. I know Grant McCauley's going down there for 92.9. He'll be going down to spring training, and that's going to be a question that I absolutely ask him whenever I check in with him.
There you go. I like it. But we'll see. I think I'm pretty optimistic. Do you think he's an all-star this year?
Who?
Olson. Think he's an all-star?
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that you had Paul Goldschmidt, who just had an unbelievable season.
Older guy, though.
Yeah,
I think Goldschmidt.
I would be very surprised if Goldie comes in and does similar to what
he's
he did
35.
last year. Yeah, that was an incredible season from him. I think
there's a
push
path
for
to him being an all-star.
There's a path. There's definitely a path. I'd like to see him kind of elevate his game into that level. I think it just completely depends on who he's going up against. I mean, what's the first baseman for the
it's
Phillies?
Freeman.
Well, Freeman, obviously. Yeah, Freeman's going to be there. But who's the first baseman for the Phillies? What's his name again? It's not Rizzo. No, it's...
Why am I blanking? Not Reese Hoskins.
No.
Why am I blanking? Oh my god. Why am I blanking on his name?
Is it Reese Hoskins?
Is he first? Like I was gonna say, like it sounded wrong when I said it out loud.
Maybe it is.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up. This is.
Yeah, it's Reese Hoskins.
That's what I thought. Okay, I said Reese Hoskins, but I did not feel great about it. Okay.
Maybe not Reese Hoskins. I mean, he could be. He's a good player, but he's not a guy.
He's better than
Trae
Reese
Turner
Hoskins.
on the Phillies.
He'll be better
also,
than
by the way.
Reese. Yeah.
Trae Turner on the Phillies. The NL East is so good, man. The NL East, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is
Outside
going to be
the
a great
Nationals.
baseball season.
Yeah.
I mean, the Braves. I think the Braves have a chance to be better this year than they were last year. Just across the board. I mean, you lose Dansby, which sucks. That's going to be a big void to fill. But a full
Alonso's
season of
also the
Ronald,
other
a
name.
healthy Ronald Acuna. The things that I've been hearing from the camp, I guess it's always going to be positive about those kinds of players this time of year. But what we've been seeing from him down in like Venezuela, oh my God, it looks like he's back to normal Ronald Acuna, you know, and I love to see that. And the thing is, you add a guy like that to your lineup, you're immediately elevating your entire team. I mean, Ozzy Albies coming back is going to be a major improvement. Sean Murphy, he's going to be a major improvement of consistency at the catcher position, at least at the plate. This is going to be a good team. If they answer some of those questions, like in left field and at shortstop, and we get some sort of consistency at short, and maybe a little bit a healthy Eddie Rosario in left field, and then Mike Soroka. What are you going to do with the fifth spot? If you're the guy in the fifth spot in the rotation, this team could absolutely win 100 games. And maybe that's enough to win the division for the, sixth year in a row.
Alex Anthopoulos still hasn't lost the division. It's kind of wild.
It's incredible.
And he's not the favorite again. Like I just keep waiting for it not to run out.
The Mets the betting
The
favorite
Mets are
again?
the betting favorite, yeah. I mean, they
love
should be.
Philly,
The Mets
and
were
they
better than
love
the Braves
New York,
for the
man.
majority of last year. Like the Braves had an amazing
They
end.
finished third last year.
I mean,
Like-
they were still the best. Like every game matters, and the Braves finished strong. But like the Mets were the best team in the division for 4/5 of the calendar, and they didn't even really
they were
collapse.
number one in the standings. They were
Yeah.
by far the most consistent team. They played at a 100 win pace the entire season.
And they got better this offseason.
Yeah.
They got Verlander in there. Like the rotation's older, but the Mets are going to be a problem.
There are a lot of teams that I don't trust. Like Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo's a guy who has played. He's 30 some odd years old. They just signed him to an 8-year contract, and he's only had 100+ games played twice in his career. And he's just Mr. Inconsistency. When he's good, he's very good. Don't get me wrong.
He runs to first very hard.
He also is probably the most irritating person in the division, but
He runs to first.
he runs to first, and it's very annoying. He's also just a cocky piece of below.
Wow.
He's really annoying. He's the one who's like, "Oh, the Braves are just mad that everyone's talking about us." It's like, no, it's just the people in New York. If you guys were outside of New York, you would be the Kansas City Royals.
Wow.
I mean, come on. I mean, they're the Mets. They're the Mets, man. Wow. I'm not a big fan of the Mets. I don't like the Mets very much. I will come on this podcast publicly say I'm not a fan of the Mets. I don't like them. Just don't like them. I'll say it publicly, privately, anywhere. I don't like the Mets.
The more you know.
Yeah.
The more you know, Garrett. Wow.
No, but the Mets will be a good team. They're going to be a good team. They're going to. I expect
There's
a little
nothing
bit of
wrong with them
regression.
being the favorites.
Verlander, I don't know if he can continue to being just an absolute superhuman. It fools Aaron to bet against him, but
Yeah. They're going to be
he's
good.
getting old. He's 38 years old, 37.
I mean, they got Scherzer. I mean,
Scherzer's
played really well
arm.
this past
You've
year.
seen Scherzer's arm give out. The longer these see, it's giving out earlier and earlier and earlier in the season.
Look,
They've leveraged their entire pitching rotation, for the most part, into two 38-year-old pitchers. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make me too super
Quintana's
comfortable.
there, Carrasco.
Tajon Walker. I mean, they have some talent outside of those guys.
No, Walker's
obviously,
gone.
but Tajon Walker's there, isn't he?
No, he's gone. I forgot where
I
he
guess
signed, but he's gone. They lost him and Bassett. Him and Bassett are gone.
Oh, he went to the Phillies. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's what I was reading. I was reading like a preview from the Athletic or something like that, and they had I saw Tajon Walker, and I was like, oh, I guess I was reading the Phillies thing. They were marked right next to each other. It's like the Braves were ranked third. Was it the Athletic just put out their early preseason power rankings? They have the Braves third and the Mets like fifth or something like that, and the Phillies fourth. Something like that. I don't know, but
I think
Yeah, I
the Braves,
definitely
it's
should
just
misread
we'll
that
see what we have in Von Grossman at short, like, and we'll see what left field looks like. I think that might be the difference is how
We'll see.
what left field looks like, how long Alex Anthopoulos waits to see what happens there.
You putting
Like how
Olson
much?
in the 2 spot?
Yeah, DH spot because they're gonna have to play Ozuna at the DH every night until they
No.
can't.
Travis d'Arnaud.
I don't know.
Travis
I think
d'Arnaud's
they're gonna.
go
I think they're gonna
Yeah.
use d'Arnaud more at the catcher spot. I think they're gonna use d'Arnaud.
Then Sean Murphy's going to be your designated.
I don't think
hitter.
they want to use Sean Murphy every night. I think they want to get
No,
d'Arnaud
we'll
at like
give him
2
a break
or.
every now and then, but Ozuna's not going to be their everyday designated
I
hitter.
think that's what the plan is.
No, he'll be your occasional designated
No,
hitter.
that man is going to be. I guarantee you, he gets the most
Multiple times
designated
a week.
starts.
multiple times a week. But
How many?
A few times, multiple times a week. So 2 to 3 times.
So
a
if they
week.
play, I'll say this: if the Braves play 1 week where they play six games, I think he's at least the DH 4 times.
No, I'm not going to go that. 6 times. Yeah. Maybe on the high end.
He's getting over half until they have to face it. Like until they DFA Marcell Ozuna, that man is going to eat up DH spots.
Well,
'Cause they
hopefully
can't play him
he
in the
comes in
field.
and is actually worth a quarter of a crock. But we'll see.
We'll see. Strider, last thing, changed his number to 99 because Major League is his favorite
Wild
movie.
thing, man.
Is that he's fun, man. Spencer
I love
Strider's
Strider.
fun.
I love Strider. I don't, he's cool. He's awesome. I
feel
he's
bad
young,
for
he
some fans.
throws
How many fans
flamethrowers,
already got the
and he's
95
only getting
though?
better.
How many fans already got the 95 Strider jersey though?
Oh, a bunch.
Like that's messed up.
I will
saw
buy
that.
a
My first thought, I'm
99.
like, that's messed up, man. They,
Do it now. Better do it now than like middle of your career.
I just
He
think
couldn't really change his number last year. He was a rookie. Who knew that he was
Yeah.
actually going to stay up there? I'll go buy a 99 Strider jersey. You're kidding me?
yeah.
What's
But
a better? It's a better investment than Max
You know what the Braves
Fried.
should do? The Braves should allow anyone who got a 95 this past year to be able to trade it in for a 99. 1 year of 95 and you sell the jerseys and it's gone? No, can't do it.
Yeah, but then you have a collectible item. Rookie year, Spencer Strider.
I don't know if that's a collectible item. Rookie year Spencer Strider. We'll see 15, 20 years
Maybe.
from now if that's a big one, but
Maybe.
that'd be fun. I don't know. 99, like, I got the Olson. Olson was the safest when I went this offseason. I think I was texting you about it. I'm like, who's the safest? And he's a Parkview guy. Went to high school with his brother. Like, go Parkview all the way. Hail Parkview.
Yeah.
But he feels the safest. I feel like Matt Olson's going to be a Brave for like the next 12 years.
So I've got my Austin Riley. Austin Riley's a
He's
pretty
safe
safe
too.
one.
Austin Riley's very safe.
He was my World Series one. Like the beautiful gold jersey that I got. Because I have a white and a blue Ronald Acuna, and then I have the gold Austin Riley, and that's all I have.
My wife almost got.
I love jerseys.
She almost got the DeJounte at the Hawks game. Like she was really into that peach, the peach DeJounte.
It's a
and I was
good
like,
looking jersey. The more I
is.
see it actually in play,
It's a really good looking jersey.
I'm also
Peach
just
and
a
black
sucker
looks
for
good.
consistency. Huh?
Peach and black looks good. Like it's a really
Yeah.
good look.
Yeah.
The MLK uniforms and look was awesome. Like those are really good. I like when they do that. Yeah, I don't know, but I still stick with my Kirk Heinrich, red and blue, and my the
Good
Kirk
man. You're a good man.
Who could forget? There you go. Garrett Chapman, what can the good folks check out from you across 247 and 929 The Game this week?
The Dopey Millennials are back tomorrow.
Ooh.
Tomorrow afternoon. Oh, yeah. 11 o'clock to 3:45. We're
That's a
getting you
long
ready
show.
for men's basketball. Some college basketball action. I think Purdue's playing. So we'll have that. And then on Sunday, just producing all weekend for 929. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
There you go. Call
Busy
me if
weekend.
you want some Tennessee takes and all that. Tennessee plays at 2 o'clock against Auburn.
Ooh, that'll be a good game. Auburn is very up and down right now. They're one of those teams that I don't really know what to expect from them on any given night. But
Their offense isn't very good. Tennessee should roll.
yeah, I
Tennessee
expect
should
Tennessee
roll
to
on
win.
Saturday.
I expect Tennessee to win. But
All
they
right.
didn't look very good against. Was that Florida that you
You're
just
cutting
lost
out.
to?
I don't know. I don't know what you're. Garrett, are you there? Garrett?
College basketball
Garrett?
this year. There's a lot of fluidity, man. It's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting tournament. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And baseball. We're like 2 weeks away from college baseball with the Tennessee Volunteers smacking the holy hell out of America once again. The best villains on the face of the
The
earth.
greatest team of all time, right?
They were the greatest team of all time last year. That's all true.
Did they make it out of the super
That
regional?
doesn't
Or
mean
which one did they lose?
It's crazy. It was super regionals, but
They didn't even
yeah.
make it to the damn dance.
The last three number ones haven't. UCLA.
Are they also the greatest teams of all time?
No, that Tennessee team was special.
It was good. It was really good. It would have been a lot of fun. That's baseball, though.
Yeah,
That's baseball. I mean, you can't tell
Chase
me the
Dollander
Dodgers
going number
weren't the
one
best team in
next year?
baseball last year.
all Chase all the time. Chase Dollander, Chase Burns, Chase Thomas. Everything comes up Tennessee Volunteers when you're named Chase. Like, it's just a good place to be. Garrett Chapman, always a pleasure, and I will talk to you next week.